Hi guys, MediaPlays here, bringing you another Clash Royale strategy video. So today what we're going to be doing is looking at the new balance changes that have just been released a few hours ago. Now, what we're going to do after that is we're actually going to play a game in the Musketeer mini challenge. Basically exactly the same as how the Valkyrie mini challenge works, and it's only for a day, so it's not that very good of the amount of rewards you get, but it is still worth it if you have the small amount of 10 gems that it does cost. So the major balance changes in this are the Royal Giant and the Elite Barbarians. Now, people have been asking this for months, ever since Elite Barbs were overbuffed by too much, and now they're trying to tone them down a little bit more, so they're still viable, but not as viable as they are now. So, first one is a bit of a buff and a nerf. First one's Royal Giant. Deploy time to 2 seconds from 1 second. Now, I know a lot of you are thinking that this is more of a buff, and this is not nerf at all, but this is a nerf to when you place a Royal Giant. Hold on a second. When you place a Royal Giant right here, if I get Royal Giant in my starting hand, if you place a Royal Giant at the bridge, like this, then obviously it's going to take a lot longer, as you can see right there, 2 seconds. But now, yeah, it used to take 1 second, but now it's going to take a lot longer to load in, and I think that's going to make a difference to how people play Royal Giant, and I'm having a feeling that this is how they're going to be playing it from now on. So we're going to keep on going into a training match until we end up with the Royal Giant. But yeah, if they start with Royal Giant, or it doesn't matter whether they start with Royal Giant or not, and I still haven't had it in three tries. Oh my god. But yeah, we'll just wait until we get. Alright, there we go, it's right there. Let's just cycle. Right, there we go. Best log. That's not the strategy of today's video, but I have a feeling that this is how people are going to play Royal Giant from now. Place it in the back, and start with placing it in the back. And what was that graveyard placement? So that's the first nerf, and I do have a feeling that is more of a nerf to it, and that's going to make it a lot less viable by playing it in the no skill way. Elite Barbarians is the second nerf. HP decreased by 4%, and initial attack becomes 0.1 seconds slower. Now, that's barely noticeable, so if I do test them here, it's not really going to be very noticeable at all. But if they do decide to counter the Elite Barbs, then say they had a Goblin Gang, it will take them 0.1 seconds to retarget to each one, like 0.1 seconds quicker, or slower, sorry, than they do now, than they did before these changes were out. So I'm gonna cycle to Elite Barbs, and then I'm gonna show you how little of a difference this is gonna make. Now the HP will make a little bit of a difference, I do feel. So if I just do Elite Barbs here, they're probably going to counter me, or not, or they're just going to let them get there. That's perfectly acceptable as well. But yeah, yeah, as you can see, it took a little bit more time for them to be able to get to the tower. Now, or for him to be able to do any significant damage, mainly because he was level 12 and I was level 10 with my Elite Barbs. Third balance change. Now, the third balance change is going to be the Furnace. Now, the Furnace is going to have a 5% HP decrease. So, this is not going to decrease how many waves of Fire Spirits it produces in its 4 elixir time, but obviously I've seen it in a lot of Royal Giant decks, and this is really just heavily nerfing Royal Giant decks. Even if Royal Giant didn't get enough directly, I still feel like that all these balance changes altogether would still somewhat nerf it. But not completely though, because not every Royal Giant user uses Furnace as well, but most of them do. Now Furnace is really, really good on offense and defense, so they're toning it down a little bit and adding the HP to the Goblin Heart by adding 5% HP onto that. Goblin Heart is extremely underused, so I do agree with that change. I'm not going to test them out because it's going to take too long. Electro Wizard, the hit speed is going to be increased, which is enough, guys. It is enough. It's being increased to 1.8 seconds instead of 1.7 seconds. Now, as my capture card loads here, there we go. Yeah, Electro Wizard offers a bit too much damage and control for a ranged support troop. Even though I do use the Electro Wizard, I feel like it's not going to make much of a difference to me. I know I have a level 2 Electro Wizard, which makes even more of a massive impact on the game. But I still feel like this is able to control a lot of meta cards at the moment, like Royal Giant. Even Royal Giant gets countered by Electro Wizard pretty well for the 4 elixir that it costs, the 2 elixir extra you're going to have than them, and they didn't get that much damage with an Electro Wizard being able to stun the Royal Giant so much in that time. Now, next nerf is actually going to be a buff. Now there's more buffs than nerfs as usual. Executioner, damage plus 6%. Now all of these bugs are gone. They can just start increasing the Executioner again, making it viable at the top of the ladder. If I go on the ladder here, we're not going to see many Royal Giants or Elite Barbarians. We're really going to just see Lava Loon and stuff like that, as we could see there. And I'm pretty sure this guy uses Lava Loon Freeze. Yep, there you go. Then we're going to keep going down. We're actually going to find Giant Graveyard. That's quite common, especially in challenges. But we're not seeing that many Royal Giants or Elite Barbarians and stuff like that. It's because really that they're only really that good if they're over-leveled. And because Executioner, you can't actually over-level it, not many people are using it. It's quite common in my arena, where I am, in Challenger 1/Challenger 2. But I still feel like Execution needs a little bit of a buff just to make it that little bit more viable, because right now it's not as viable as it used to be. Balloon, death damage delayed 3 seconds from 1 second. So we're going to actually test this one out, and when the balloon dies, you're actually going to be able to see the bomb as it takes 3 seconds to deploy instead of 1 second. Now we're just going to quickly cycle here and place our Awful Miner. And hopefully he places something that counters air, sorry. There we go. We're just going to place it right there, just to see its bomb, as he's level 11 rares and level 12 commons crush it. And the Dark Goblin will actually get 2 shots off there, 3 shots in fact, before the bomb goes off. Now, this is basically the same changes they did to Giant Skeleton. And I feel like in the beta they did need to do that, but I don't know if Balloon really needed that change. I feel like it won't affect many interactions apart from Minion Horde versus Balloon, because Minion Horde, sometimes, depending on where you place it, some of the minions will die, sometimes all of them die. It depends where you just end up placing it. It's really situational. But now, obviously, the minions are just going to be able to fly straight past the bomb before it even has a chance of blowing them up. The next nerf is actually going to be a very, very small nerf. Really small nerf. Skarmy is going down to 14 skeletons from 15. It has seen a lot of nerfs recently. A lot of nerfs. But, again, they're really not that noticeable. If you go back to mid-2016... and look at a video from mid-2016, you see someone place a skeleton army, you're gonna see how many more skeletons there were back in the day, because there used to be 20, then it went up to 21, then it just kept getting nerfed from there. But obviously skeleton army's been buffed to have 5 less skeletons, but a ton more levels, and I feel like they did really need to do that to make Skarmy like really a meta card. So we're gonna cycle here. We're gonna just cycle to Skeleton Army. It is obviously the last card in our cycle. For goodness sake. But yeah, that's very annoying. That it's our last card in the cycle. We're gonna also play. Yeah, as you can see, it's not making much of a difference, but there's one less skeleton now again. So as I quickly pause the game, I'm gonna pause the game. The tower shot like one or two skeletons, so you guys have not missed much. But I'm gonna put it back on here, and the tower is gonna be able to shoot most of them down before they actually get anywhere near. And I've just realised these spear goblins one-shot my skeletons. That is good to know. And the last and final buff, sorry, because it is a buff. Almost all buffs this update, apart from Royal Giant and Elite Barbarians and Furnace. The last one is Lumberjack. HP plus 4%. This is another one that really is not going to affect a thing. This is not going to affect anything much. Apparently, I think it affects the bowler and how many shots it needs to take out a bowler, but that's all it needs, or for a bowler to take out a lumberjack. But that's really all the difference it's going to make. Now I am using lumberjack on my mini account, so that's good to hear that it's getting a little bit of a buff. So it's going to become a little bit more viable. Now this deck is just ridiculous. I need to make this a little bit better with the level 4 goblin gang. Dark Goblin, sorry. But I don't think the lumberjack buff needed to really happen, but they needed to buff it in some way. And it's just such an underused card right now. Not really very viable, and yeah, it's just not a card you really want to use in your deck for any reason. It just takes up a card slot for no reason at all. So we're gonna pick minions here for graveyard. Talking of graveyard, alright, we're gonna give him Mirror. So we've given him pretty useless cards. We've given him Zap and Log, but we've also gave him only Dark Goblin to counter our graveyard, and we've gave him Mirror. So he can do Dark Goblin Mirror, I suppose, but even then we've still got most of the graveyard counters. And what is this start? Double Ice Spirit, very weird start. Really weird. So I'm gonna do a graveyard the moment I get a chance to, because he's just started straight off with a Dark Goblin, and that is one of the main counters he's gonna have to our graveyard. Ice Wizard is gonna tank for a little bit for that graveyard, which is very good. We're gonna be able to take out his Musketeer, and we're gonna deal almost over 1,000 damage to his tower. We're gonna kite this this baby dragon, if we can. No, we can't. So we're just going to be able to slow that down, and it's only going to be able to get 3 or 4 shots off of our tower, which is a pretty decent trade considering we were able to graveyard his tower and get it almost down to half health. Ice Wizard is going to lose there, but that is fine. He ended up spending an extra little bit of elixir there, which is good. Bad skeletons by me, but the Wizard is going to be able to get took out by the Inferno Tower. He's going to start off with a Musketeer in the back. If he plays anything else, I will Lightning that. But if he doesn't, then I'm just going to probably leave that. I'm going to do Archers, and I'm also going to do an Ice Golem, which did not quite stop it from hitting the Inferno Tower. And he ended up with double Musketeer in his deck, with the Mirror, of course. And he's actually going to be able to one-shot my minions with that mirrored Musketeer there. He's going to be able to do pretty decent damage here with the level 8 Musketeer coming down. And hopefully it gets slowed down. Not quite. Did not get slowed down. He's going to get a couple more shots off of that tower. Now, I'm going to Lightning the moment I can, because that will be a lot of damage to the tower. And his troops in general. So we're just going to be able to Lightning those. I wouldn't have been able to Lightning all of those. And I think at this point what I'm going to need to do is just cycle. That's all I can really do that is effective enough. Now, he's going to Dark Goblin get rid of our tower. Inferno Tower, apologies. And we're going to do another graveyard. We're going to pressure him. He's not going to have much to counter that. He's going to have a baby dragon. That's going to counter the skeletons on the left. But the skeletons on the right are going to distract it a little bit more. And we're going to get a couple of shots off the tower there. We're going to distract the Dark Goblin with an Ice Golem. We're going to do an Inferno Tower. Pretty offensive Inferno Tower. But obviously we want to be able to stop the baby dragon because of how much range it has. Now, Inferno Tower is going to be frozen, but we're going to do a Graveyard Lightning here. And there we go. Lightning there. And Tower is going to get took down to 400 health, just about. And Skeletons are going to be able to get rid of that Dark Goblin. We're going to be able to do 2 more Lightnings and take out the Tower. So I'm going to do another Inferno Tower. And that's not going to fully distract the baby dragon, but we're going to be able to hopefully defend here. There we go. We're going to be able to do this and graveyard his tower. And hopefully this will be enough damage to his tower. And damn it. Good game. Well played. We're going to open the chest. We're going to open the 1 win. Again, the challenge isn't that worth it, even if you do get the full prize. And yeah, the only prize I did end up getting was the, I can't remember how many is it. I'm pretty sure it's 3 Musketeers, then 5 Musketeers, then 8 Musketeers. So it's really just a time-wasting challenge, to be honest, just a filler. We're going to get a Battle Ram from that chest. That's actually pretty decent value. For 3 cards, ended up getting a rare, which is a 30% chance anyway, and then ended up getting Battle Ram out of all the rares that I could have got. I ended up getting one of the 2 that I use. So I'd say that was pretty good considering I'm requesting it. So that's going to be the end of this slightly longer, actually quite a lot longer, balance change video. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. Leave me suggestions for next week's Clash of Clans tips and tricks, because I will be doing another Clash of Clans tips and tricks next week. Comment, like the video if you are enjoying this series. I'm definitely enjoying making all these videos. Like, they're a lot more difficult to think of ideas, but if you guys can think of any, then I'll be able to put out more of these videos. And subscribe if you haven't already for more of these tips and tricks videos. Thanks for watching and peace out.